All right, here's our last lesson of the unit. We're going to try to understand how to calculate the surface area of all those shapes that we've been looking at, the three-dimensional shapes we've been looking at this half of the unit. So prisms, pyramids, cylinders. All right, so I have two little descriptions here, and what I want you to do is try to figure out which figures are being described in these two scenarios. Come back when you got the answers written down, see if you got them right. Here are the answers you should have received. Prism and pyramid are the right answers. If you got those right, give a nice head nod. Yeah, feeling good. All right, so today we're going to talk about surface area. And what is surface area? Well, I'm glad you asked. And if you didn't ask, I'm glad I mentioned it because you have to write down that definition. It's a three-dimensional, surface area of a three-dimensional figure is the sum, so you're adding up all the areas of its surfaces. So as you know, three-dimensional shapes have a lot of different surfaces. You got to add them all up. So to help see all the surfaces, sometimes what you do is we take the three-dimensional figure and imagine cutting it along one line and opening up the shape. What that's called is a net, which is the second definition I want you to write down. A net is the pattern made when the surface of the three-dimensional figure is laid out flat. Once you have those two definitions written down, you can move on. All right, so let's take a look at finding the surface area of a prism. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at two different methods. First one is probably the easiest method, which is taking a shape and laying it out like a net. So to draw a net, to help you see all the faces of the prism, basically what you have to do is pretend cutting along one line, and then you break them down. Now, from here, you know that area equals length times width. So you just have to find the area of every single face. So if we look at area A is a 5 by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. The area B there you see is 5 times 12. That gives you 60. And you keep going. Once you have all 6 faces, areas figured out, add them together, and that's your surface area. 188 inches squared. Since it's area, it's squared. So if you want to write this example down in your notebook, I'll let you choose to do that or not. Here's another method, and this is just using the three-dimensional drawing, not breaking it down. Now, with this three-dimensional shape, the one thing I want you to notice is that we only have to find 3 different areas of the shape. We have to find the top, the front, and the side. Now, why only 3? Because we can only see 3 sides of the shape, but how many other sides are there? Well, think of the opposites. The opposite of the top is the bottom. So if I drew an imaginary line back here, so we can kind of see the back side of our shape. The top's here, the bottom would be somewhere here. We'd find this side, you'd find this side over here too. And if you find the front, the back is back here. So if we can find the length times the width of the top, the length times the width of the side, and the length times the width of the front, all we have to do with each one of those is we would have to multiply that answer by 2. So here's what we mean. If we look at the front side, it's 9 centimeters by 7. Well, area equals 9 times 7, so that's 63. But the opposite of the front is the back, so do it times 2. 63 times 2 gets you 126. The top of this shape was 9 by 5. Well, the top and the bottom are the same exact thing, so that gives you 45. 2 45s give you 90. And the side of the shape is a 5 times 7, which is 35. Twice of those is 70. So then all you have to add up is 126, 90, and 70. Gives you 286, and if you label it properly with centimeters squared, you have your answer. So with these, you can kind of choose any way, but you have to make sure that you have 6 sides represented. Okay, for your practice, you're going to complete 1, 2, and 3 any way of the 2 methods I showed you that you feel is most successful. Basically find the area of the shapes, come back. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do the area of the top, which is length times width, area of the side, which is length times width, and area of the front, which is length times width. The top is 4 by 3, which gives me 12 times 2 gives me 24. The side here is 4 by 5, which equals 20 times 2, which is 40. And the front part is 5 times 3, which gives me 15 times 2, which is 30. So then all I have to do is add 30, 40, and 24. And that gives me 94 inches squared. The surface area equals 94 inches squared. All right, look at that. I did one for you. You just got to do 2 and 3. And here are the final answers you should have gotten for 2 and 3. 112 meters squared and 56 centimeters squared. Whatever method worked best for you. If you still don't see how to do this, make sure you come to me so I can give you a hand. And speaking of giving a hand, why don't you give yourself a hand for a good job if you got them all right. All right, so now we're going to look at pyramids and surface area of pyramids. The surface area of a pyramid is the base times all the sides along the way to the top of the pyramid. Here's what we're going to do. So imagine we had a pyramid here that has a base of 7 by 7, and the height goes straight up to 8. If we broke it down into a net, it kind of looks like this ninja star. So the only two things you have to find is the square bottom and then one of the triangles, and you multiply them by 4 because there's 4 triangles. So the square is s squared, or side squared, because each side is going to be 7. So 7 times 7 gives you 49. That's the easy one. Okay? So your formula is s equals s squared, or I would just do length times width, plus 4 times all the triangles. So 7 squared is done. That gets us 49. Now let's figure out one of the triangles. Well, remember, the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. So 1/2 times the base here of this triangle is 7. And the height of the triangle is 8. Okay. Now 7 times 8 gives you 56. 56 times 1/2, or half of 56, is 28. So that's where we get the 28 there. We now know where we got the 49 there. And remember, if you put parentheses around that, we have 4 triangles that we have to figure out. So 28 times 4 is going to give you 112. Then you can finally add 49 and 112, which gets you 161 feet squared. So that's how you find the surface area of a pyramid. I strongly suggest that you write this down in your notebook. And go ahead and find 4, 5, and 6 now on your own. Remember that the surface area for this is going to be length times width plus 4 times half times base times height for the 4 triangles. So if we were to plug and chug, for this one it's 6 by 6, so that's 36, plus 4 times 1/2. The base is 6 feet and the height is 8. 6 times 8 is going to give you 48. Half of 48 is 24. You're going to multiply that times 4 and then add it to 36. 24 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. That's 8 plus 1 is 9. So 96 plus 36 is going to give us our surface area, which is going to be 132 feet squared. Hey, look at that. I did one for you again. You just have to go complete 5 and 6. Come back when you're done. Here are the answers to 5 and 6. 5, you had to do 30 times 30 to get the base. And then 30 times 29 divided by 2 gets you 1 triangle. Multiply that 4 times and then add it to the base. That's the answer you get. Number 6, the base was 4. Each triangle was 3 times 2, which is 6, divided by 2, which is 3. 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 4 on the base gave you 16 meters. If you got those both right, come on over and give me a high five. All right, the final shape we're going to look at will be cylinders. Now, this is going to equal the area of the base, and all the cylinders are circular, and the area of the curved surface. So this one's going to have a specific formula that you're going to want to write down. All right, so if we have a shape like this, and we've got to find the surface area, formula for surface area is for a cylinder is basically the area of the curved surface, so the flat area, times the two bases. Well, what we're doing is we're trying to find the circumference of a long round piece times the height times the two bases. So it's always going to be h for height, which here is 7 feet, times 2 pi radius, 2 times pi times the radius of 4, plus the two bases. So 2 times pi and radius squared, which again is 4, but 4 squared is 16. Okay, so plug now your answers in, and you're going to see that you get 7 for the height, 2 stays the same, pi stays the same, which is 3.14, and then you put the radius in for 4. Plus 2, that all stays the same, times pi again, 3.14, times the radius, which is 4 squared, or 16. Write this down, please, before I show you the next step. So now that I wrote it nicely, you'll see S equals 7 times 8 times pi, or 3.14, plus 2 times 16 times pi, or 3.14. Do the things in parentheses first. So 8 times 3.14 gave us 25.12, and 16 times 3.4 gave us 50.24. Now we know that we multiplied the multiplication parts and then add. So this comes down to be 175.84, and this comes down to be 100.48. From there we add those two together. We get 276.32, and then just add feet squared since that's the measurement. So that's how you find the cylinder. As long as you use the formula, you'll be perfectly fine. Just use the formula, plug, and chug. So again, here's your turn. Remember, have the formula written down as surface area equals, and I just wrote it real quick, so you don't have to watch me write it all, but surface area equals height times 2 times pi times radius plus 2 times pi times radius squared. So for example number 7, all you have to do is plug and chug. We have the formula. Let's chug them in. The height is 9 times 2 pi r squared, which is 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 4. Okay, plus the second part, which is 2 times 3.14 times the radius squared, 4 squared, which is 16. Now we just have to multiply through all the parts to be able to get it. And I'll let you do that. Come back with the answer for 7, 8, and 9. There's your answers. So just using that formula, you plug and chug. You make sure you follow order of operations carefully, and you'll get the answer every time. Just make sure you're going parentheses first, then multiplying, then adding. Okay, if you got those right, come on over and give me another high five. Here is your box of thought. Go ahead and tell me how to find the surface area of a pentagonal prism. So what's the area for a pentagon? If you know, that's a tricky one. Number 2, tell how to find the surface area of a cube if you know the area of one face. Remember, cube, they're all squares. All right, here's your 3 questions. Show your work and come see me when you're done.